I may not be a man of steel on this Dawn of the Dead, but I feel like I just got sucker punched 300 times, and this is my dawn of justice. What's up? Welcome back. I'm John Stark from MacTheMovieGuy.com, your favorite black film critic. I'm sure I've forgotten that. I don't know how to get Army of the Dead in there. So, yeah. This is Rebel Moon Part 2, the director's cut. Ooh, yeah, baby. Give it to me. Good. Give it to me. This is what we wanted. Um, if you watched my first review, I don't. Do I want to rant again about the fact that this doesn't need to exist? It's never needed to exist. Netflix should have always prioritized releasing the better cut of the film to begin with, since their metrics do not rely on ratings or on box office performance. And based on the fact that as a streaming service you can pause a movie and come back to it later on, um, there really is no reason for this. Like, this is the most annoying thing ever, and it has absolutely clouded the way that I can possibly view these films, because there's like a worse version of them out there. It would be like if you watched like like you could take this with any. I challenge you to take any classic version of the film, right? Take any film and pretend that there's like an unwatchable version of your favorite film, and then oh my god, you get that cut. That's so sweet cut. It's gonna change the way you look at it. Like if we watch shitty Goodfellas before we watch Martin's, like, let's say this is Scorsese's director's cut of Goodfellas. I don't know if it is, but and then you watch that, and it suddenly it's not going to be as classic, because you're going to be like, well, what the fuck was this other thing that you gave me? What was that? Like, what was that? I mean, like, and the thing is, I don't even think this is that great, because I think it's very self-indulgent, and I think he goes way too much into, he's like, well, I can do anything. I'm Zack Snyder. There are people online asking for the Snyder cut. You know, I have my own thing named after me, the Snyder cut. I am God. No, you're not. Anyway, this film does have audio description. It's International Digital Center, written by Dakota Green, narrated by Frankie Corzo. And since I'm a blind film critic, I have blind audiences. And I am wearing a purple hat today with black sunglasses and a Captain America shirt. It's literally like the logo, like you would see maybe on a shield, that star. It's that shirt. It's a pretty simple shirt. So I'm using it today to protect me from all of the vibes that I get from having to sit through 6.5 hours of Rebel Moon yet again after, God, I've seen the first one twice and I saw the second one earlier. So I have a lot of Rebel Moon in my blood, and the funny thing is I still could not actually sit down and really fully break this down for you, like in a sport, because it veers a lot and it meanders, and you're like, well, what is this scene for? I don't know. Like, there was some things that I liked about part two, and there's some things I like about the director's cut in general. First of all, character development. It's impossible to not have character development. They swap out a lot of those exposition scenes with actual scenes where characters do things. So that's welcome. So instead of just having a whole bunch of people sit around the circle and be like, well, why are you here? They're like, well, why don't we show you that? Like, we're going to make long fucking movies, so why don't we just explain why everybody's here and where we came from? Um, and Anthony Hopkins's like narration that was like over the movies, that's like way less. He does a lot less of that. A lot less of like introspective thought heard out loud. Uh, it's so yeah, you can't help but say this is a better movie, even if it's indulgent, even if it's far too long, even if he can't, even if it's unnecessarily gory, like it's like over the top. Like people are like, well, 300, and I'm like, 300 wasn't this violent. 300 was violent. I don't think he's ever made anything this violent before. He seems to be taking out his frustrations on, um, I don't know, on his characters. I'm actually kind of surprised, and that's probably why it's so incoherent, because he must have had to cut so much stuff to make this PG-13 film. There's no way it'd be like looking at a Saw franchise and being like, how do we make this PG-13? And be like, well, we're gonna cut away a lot, that's for sure. Do that. Okay. Okay. How do we make Midsummer PG-13? I don't know. Well, we need a PG-13 cut of Midsummer. It I don't I don't think it's gonna be watchable. I don't care. The the teens, we've got to get those teens in there. Um, yeah, it's just it feels like a film that is so obviously R-rated that how could Netflix possibly have turned around to him and said, "We need a PG-13 2-hour cut of these films"? Did you not read the script? Did he just go rogue? Because if he went rogue, then don't ever work with Zack Snyder again. I need to know more, but Netflix is never going to tell us more because right now I think this is like the worst business idea that Netflix has ever uh, come up with, because we were we were offered really an inferior product. I can't believe that there's anybody who's going to be like, remember those shorter versions that made no sense? Those were better. It's really hard to say that. Now, these are really long, and I never want to see them again. Truthfully, in my entire life, I never want to see this franchise again. I'm really hoping there is no third movie. I'm really hoping they just stop making Rebel Moon movies. Like, it's gonna be my Christmas wish this year. I'm gonna like if I if I had a birthday candle, I'd go back because I didn't make a birthday wish this year. I give me a candle, I'll blow it out. I'll use my birthday wish. Whatever I can do to stop Rebel Moon films from happening. I think Zack Snyder needs a break. I think he needs to find himself again because we have let him become far too indulgent and given him no leash and just said, "Go free, young man. Go do the thing that the internet seems to want you to do." But he's not really sure what that is. He's not like 100% sure what that is. He's gotten a lot of mixed feedback. Not everyone's a Zack Snyder fan. He does have a rabid fan base. I would challenge the fact that the Rebel Moon franchise is probably dwindling that fan base. um, but I don't know. There's sex in here. We got Dakota. I love Dakota Green, but I heard thrusting and I was like, oh god damn it. Every time I hear thrusting, I've never heard before I went blind, I swear, like, thrusting was never like a thing. Like I just it's like a word that I heard maybe like a few times. Now that I'm blind, it's in like 99% of sex scenes are just thrusting. He he's thrusting into her. He thrusts into her. I'm like, thesaurus, people. Let's find the thesaurus. Rides, conquers. I don't know. Find something. I don't really care. We have to find another word. Uh, but this is, I don't know. This is, I remember people were making fun of the farming. They're like, did you sign up for lots of farming and more farming and more farming? And I love that Snyder doubles down on that and like it's still in his director's cut. He's like, no, farming is such a huge part of this. It's like if you were to make like Farmville the movie and you're like, well, we have to show the farming. It's Farmville the movie, you know? So yeah, there's like those scenes are still there, but I feel like there's more awareness of why they're there. It's this whole like, you must show us that you are part of this. And the only way to do that is for us, the only way we can trust you is for you to be there with us in the fields and whatever nonsense. I can't, I don't know. Jaimin Hansu always sounds, everything he delivers, regardless of how ridiculous it is, always sounds epic. Um, he should do more like commercials. He should read commercials too. Like since we've completely given up on ever trying to get him another Oscar nomination, and he just shows up as that guy that's in films, we should we should just go ahead and have him narrating like really random commercials on television, because he sells things really well and makes them sound like they're really more intense than they are. So I don't know. This is Rebel Moon. I don't want to talk about this film anymore. The audio description is excellent because there's a lot to describe. That's the thing. When you add more violence and gore, you give people something to work with. And Dakota does dive into that. In terms of her writing, Frankie's voice is excellent on this. I love the stuff that International Digital Center puts out. My only complaint is thrusting. Can we please stop? Can we please have like maybe like more words? More words. Let's retire thrusting for a while and see. Let's explore. Let's use our creativity and explore words other than thrusting. I don't care. You're gonna be like, well, he is thrusting. I don't care. That's what adjectives are for, you know. Um, that's what a thesaurus is for. So it's the simplest way, maybe thrusting. But I promise you, if you crack open that thesaurus, next to thrusting is not going to be like blank. No adjectives found. Anyway, that's it. I'm going to give this movie the same grade. I'm acknowledging the fact that I would have given both of the original films a rotten score if I was a tomato meter critic, and I'm going to give both the director's cut a fresh score, a low one, because I'm still sort of like viscerally angry at the whole thing. Netflix and Zack Snyder have lost a lot of goodwill with me here. It makes me think like I don't want to like endorse it too much, because I don't want Netflix to start planning director's cuts of other things in advance. I don't want them to be like, ooh, well, what if like Stranger Things final season? What if we release like an inferior product of that? And then there was like a director's cut of the final season to make it even more hypey. It's like, no, just release the best version. Like, you should always strive to release the best version. Director's cuts usually come along because somebody didn't have final cut. So now this is the director's cut because the studio didn't listen to the director, and the director is like, well, this is what my vision looked like. What do you think? Is it better or is it worse? And usually it's better. Not always. Sometimes it's about the same. But usually it's becomes, you can be like, oh yeah, I see what you're doing there. So, yeah, this is marginally better because there's actual character development and less exposition. And because of that trade-off, I'm going to give Rebel Moon Part 2 Director's Cut a C+. So there you go. Anyway, thanks for watching. Thanks for subscribing. And I will see you guys on the other side.